Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. My name is Moawia Abdelkarim. I'm delighted to be here today, and I thank CCC, Projects, Stanford, and everybody else that has collaborated to bring this to, this BIM conference to life. Yesterday we met at the airport project with CCC, and I was quite impressed with what they've been able to achieve. And I just want to give them a hand of applause for, honestly educating us and showing us what they've been able to do just in a short period of time with a very complex project. So with that, full disclosure, I'm not a technology person. Like everybody else who has come before me here, I'm an architect, so I'm a recovering architect. I've jumped the fence to the construction side, and now I'm into the technology and innovation side. I took a different approach to my presentation, so hopefully you find it very useful and helpful to what you came here for. Sometimes when I do presentations in the U.S., because I think the culture is a little forgiving, so I can do things and I can make people do things. I think here I'm going to be a little shy of doing that and making you do things. However, I have added a quiz at the end, so I need everybody to focus on me, and so because I'm going to give you a quiz at the end. Okay? Sometimes when I catch people playing on their phones, I make them do certain things, but I don't think I'm going to do that here. So with that, let's start what I'm going to be talking about. I'll give you a really brief, it's a moderate, I guess, introduction about who DPR is. Because I don't think DPR is well known in this region of the world, and we are a very unique, construction company. And I think that leads to what Mark, it kind of leads to where we are today and how we've become, who we've become so far in the U.S. And then I'll talk, about our BIM experience, where did it come from, and where we are today and where we're looking. And then I'll preface it with why should you care? Obviously, you all care because you paid to come here or you've been invited to be here. So obviously you care. And so I'm going to talk a little bit more about why do you care or why should you care, share some of our lessons learned, and then go into a case study of one project that I think would be helpful to walk through. Again, I think I forewarn you is that this is not a technology presentation. I'm not going to talk about applications. My focus is going to be around business processes, applications, how you put the program together, and how you set it for success. Is that okay with you guys? Yes? All right. And then at the end, we'll talk about the knowledge that we've acquired throughout, this process. How do we transfer it? Because we've set up certain entities within DPR to allow us to transfer that knowledge. All right, here we go. Now, I think full disclosure, we've adopted about a year and a half ago a certain method of presentation. It's called slidology. And so my slides are slightly funky to a degree, and so they look a little different. And so I hopefully that kind of resonates with you or you find them appealing. And so there is less text, a lot of images, and I'll be talking to those images. Okay, so DPR exists to build great things, and this is the foundation of everything we do today. And so notice we're a construction company, but we don't say we build great buildings. No. We build great things. We build great relationships like the one we forged with SciFi. We build great people that we hire within the organization. We build great relationships with our clients. We build great buildings as well. And we build great technologies as well. So that's why we exist. And I kind of challenge everybody here in the room to think about why do you even exist as an organization, and try to find or define that really, because that's going to drive you to go where you need to go. Our mission is also unique. It kind of defines who we want to be. We want to be one of the most admired companies by the year 2030. This was put together when the company was founded back in 1990. So we're a relatively young company, but we've been able to achieve great things. Some people may ask about this, why 2030, and I can go into, explaining it a little bit, maybe offline during the break. Our core values really make us different than any other construction company you've known. I guarantee you that. So we stand for something. We love to have fun and enjoy our work that we do. During the work practice, during social events, anywhere. We love to enjoy life. We're unique in the sense that we're not like anybody else. And I'll give you one example that would show that DPR is different and unique. We're an employee-owned company. That is serious business. The founders, DPR stands for Doug, Peter, and Ron. Those are the ones who founded the company. 2 of them are already gone. They don't own anything in the company at all. It's owned by the employees. And so that's one aspect that makes us unique and different. We're ever forward. We like change just for the sake of change itself. And so we look for new ways of doing business. We look for better ways of doing business. And we try things, and we don't shy from, trying things and failing. We fail often, but we move forward. This is our current leadership. And I, kind of put this, the photo together just to kind of give you the perspective. We're not uptight people. They're all like you and I, and we're all equal. There may be some people that are more equal than others, but we're all equal. And so if I give you my business card, we don't have titles. Our business cards just say our names, and there is a reason for that. And so that makes us also unique and different. No one here has a title. No one is a CEO or a VP of this or that. We're all the same. We love score. We love keeping score. And we believe, our founders believe, that if we're not keeping score, you're not making any progress. You're not going to make any progress. And we're proud of what we've been able to achieve so far. We're the 24th largest general contractor in the U.S. And we're actually rubbing shoulders with the large companies, all of the technology companies, Microsoft, Google, all of them. We're number 15 among the 100 best companies to work for. That speaks for itself. Our employees rate us similar to they rate Microsoft. We're number 15. There is no general contractor that's above us in that list. We've got 17 offices across the U.S. Our main office is in Redwood City, California, in the Bay Area. I'm like David with Optima. I'm out of Phoenix. I'm here with 2 of my colleagues. Atul Kanzodi is out of the Bay Area, and Saurabh just recently moved to India. We just opened a small office in India. We're about 1,500 full-time staff and 1,400, craft people. We self-perform concrete, drywall, door frames and hardware, and ceilings. In some of our offices, we also do fire stopping. We are highly specialized. We don't do every type of construction. Our main focus is advanced technologies. So we do data centers, corporate offices. We do high-rise corporate office buildings. We do higher education, like these, like similar to the building we're in. We do healthcare. That is my specialty. So I started with DPR 13 years ago, and that is my specialty, either ground-up hospitals or renovations. And 7 years into it, then that's when I switched the fence. We do life sciences, and again, as a builder, like I said, and so we're not a general contractor. As a broker, we are a builder. And so that's why we have crews that allows us to build concrete, drywall, and some of these other trades. Again, we are relatively young. We have been established since 1990. We went through a very strong transformation through the life, we call this the flywheel. The first 10 years or decade was the development decade. And we were the Wild West. Everybody was doing their own thing, how we want to manage the company. We are innovative and entrepreneurial, meaning that, hey, you have a better way of doing something, go do it. You don't have to ask for permission. That's why we got into BIM, and that's how we even got into BIM. And I'll give you that story later. The previous decade, from 2000 to 2010, was the discipline decade for us. We put a lot of disciplines in place that allows us to play within the boundaries that allows us to manage the company. We grew from just a $500 million company to $1.5 billion company during that period. And so we had to put things in place to better manage the company. This decade we're in is what is really important, because that's going to lead us to becoming the most admired company in 2030. And so this decade is the transformation decade. And we're making some serious investments here to make sure we get to 2030 and we become one of the most admired companies. Okay, so our BIM experience, I think Martin mentioned one of our most mature projects when we seriously made some serious investments in 2004, 2005. But truly our first model was produced in 1998. And so about 15 years ago, Atul and team produced that was our office, our main office in Portland, Oregon, was modeled, basically, playing around with the tools that were available at that time. And so, like the saying goes, we said yes when people said no. People were dismissive, right, of the new technology. And so, like you see on the cartoon here, somebody invented the wheel, but these guys are still working with the square, with the square wheel. And they refuse to change. Why? Because we get accustomed to how we do things, like we've done it 30 years ago. And I think that's going to set the theme for the presentation here. It's always going to be about change management, people, and practices, and so forth. Our BIM capabilities today, so from 1998 to today, this slide summarizes our BIM capabilities. Basically, we can do everything in-house. We strongly believe that if you can build it, we can model it. And so we take it to the degree of anything that's larger than 1/4 of an inch, we can model. And so 1/4 of an inch is like that. And so some of the things maybe to highlight, like I said, we self-perform work. We self-perform concrete, and so we do model. In some cases, any type of shuttering or formwork that's complex, we do model that. Drywall as well. Supply chain management here, because we self-perform door frames and hardware, so we have control over the supply chain for the door frames and hardware. And so we have proven that we can track it and look at performance using BIM. I'm going to skip. And as Martin mentioned on the project, he gave the examples, and the one I'm going to cite for the case study, we sit today right here at that intersection. To us, BIM is just a tool. And that's it. Where value comes into place, where you integrate lean practices, and you have some integrated form of team that is working together towards a common goal. IPD, I'm not sure if you guys do IPD here, right? IPD, so integrated project delivery. And that's where the project team comes together. They all sign an IFOA, an integrated form of agreement, and everybody's together in it, collaborating. And so what does that mean? Similar to the slide that Martin showed in ours, we have the right people in the right room and at the right time. And so all three components are very important to have a successful, meaningful BIM implementation, as well as collaboration among the entire team. What's next to us? Things that we're looking forward to. this is just an old screenshot of things that we're looking at. And I see Renaud there taking pictures. So Renaud and I go, way back. Renaud now is with Autodesk. This is a screenshot of horizontal glue. And so our initiative is to bring our ERP. We use CMIC for all of our job costing, HR, you name it. So everything is in CMIC. However, including our project management and document control is in CMIC. However, what we lack today is the link between our models and the data that's produced out of our ERP. And so we are partnering currently with Autodesk to make that link happen. And right now, it is functional with the RFIs and the BIM objects. Next for us is change management, billings, a whole bunch. It opens the door. Once you go down this path, it opens the door to a lot of possibilities. What's next, like you've seen with Eli's, we're investing heavily in augmented reality. It helps us in several areas. Quality control is one, but I think where we're reaping some of the benefits today is when you walk with the stakeholders in a building, when they look at drawings two-dimensional, they get lost. They don't know what the space looks like, how big it is, the spatial relationships between things, right? But when you show it to them in a model on the screen, they grasp it a little bit more, or it's better for them. However, when you give them this experience, it's even better because they're walking the space. They can see this is a patient room right there. That's a bed. The TV is going on that wall, and the bed is going against this wall. And so they're able to even make some decisions about the design or make changes. You know what? That wastebasket doesn't need to go there. It needs to go on this side. And so that's how we're able to, I think, get the most benefit of it today. It's an experiment. We're investing in it. And hopefully, we get, really, get a return on our investment. Currently, we're also investing in model-based production planning. And so essentially taking model objects into the estimate and then truly tracking production out in the field. And as well as using, you've seen on some of the previous presentations, schedules and location-based schedule maps that shows, where things are and the progress reporting, basically what's got installed in place every week, and then you're getting the feedback right there and then relative to the estimate, how the estimate, or relative to the budget. All right, so why should you care? This is a quote, and you can read it, from Eric Clam, who's one of our executives. And I just stuck a title for him there just for giggles. But truly, it's no longer any one person's, issue, and we cannot just step back and say, no, it's their issue. They need to fix it. Collectively, as a construction industry, we need to come together to come up with better ways of delivering projects, right? I think what I always tell people is that we cannot rely on technologies from the past to deliver future projects. Future projects are going to be complex. They're going to be demanding. Owners are more sophisticated now, right? And they know the value of money. We cannot rely on technologies that are built in the past to deliver those future projects. And so we have to come up with better ways to deliver those projects. And I've got a little video here. So it's not a BIM video. Again, my presentation is about BIM, but it's not, a technical presentation. And so I saw this Hyundai, full disclosure, I don't own a Hyundai, I don't endorse Hyundai as a company, but I found this video that is very telling, and I think they were very successful to show that, are you going to just settle for the first thing that comes out? You know how the old cell phones were like that old brick? They're very big, so why didn't we settle, for those old phones, and today we carry these? And so I think it's the same. For the same reason, I think everybody should seriously be investing in BIM.
always settled for the first thing that came along. Then we'd never have gotten here. Introducing the Sonata Hybrid from Hyundai.
So imagine we lived in that world still, right? But I think, you really need to care because the data supports why you need to care. This is a study done by McGraw-Hill last year that shows the higher the engagement, the higher, the ROI from using BIM. And so I think this alone should be very telling of why should we care about investing in BIM. But to give you some real numbers from one of our projects, this is the Castro Valley, Medical Center. I think most of my examples here are from Castro Valley, and then I've got the case study from another project, but they're both medical facilities. And so I think when you talk about hospital operational seeing patients, that means money for the hospital facilities, right? And so we were able to deliver the hospital 6 weeks ahead of schedule. That's a lot of money for them, right? On the same project, and I'm going to try and answer one question that Architect Wright there asked earlier. This project, met basically their target cost that was set 3.5 years ago, at the design stage. And so I want to stop here a little bit and kind of talk about, because you asked an interesting question to clarify where did that incentive come from. The type of contracts we get into are slightly, unique and different. So we don't do a lot of we do very little hard bid projects. Most of our projects are GMPs, guaranteed maximum price. This project is an IPD project. And so with an IPD project comes another layer of incentive that the owner puts and dangles, in front of everybody. If we meet the cost that was set at the design stage, we get that, we reap that benefit, or the entire team reaps that benefit. And so on this project, we set the budget 3.5 years ago. When the project was done, we were right at that number. And we couldn't have done it without BIM. On the same project, we had 214 RFIs. 84 of them were closed within, 3 days or less. From a production or productivity perspective, I think our larger subcontractors have been able to achieve really some good productivity. So they were successful as well. For our self-perform work drywall, we were able to achieve 28% more on what we've planned from a production perspective. And these are real numbers. Okay, so here we will share, some of it, bear with me, maybe some repeat of what you've heard before, and some may be a little, a little different. So these are 4 healthcare projects. There is the contract values. I think from a scale perspective, these here become midgets or miniature projects compared to what's happening here in this region, right? So, a $600 million project is nothing here because you spend billions on buildings. But in the U.S., these are large-size projects. And you can, and so these are lessons learned from these 4 projects that we've collected. We've been involved, and again, so I'm sure you're familiar with design build. We do some of that, but we do design assist as well. So design assist is we don't completely take ownership of the design, but we assist in the design. And so on these 2 projects, we got on board at 50%, DDs or design documents. On these two projects, we were at the schematic phase of the design. And so we got involved even earlier, at the design phase. Okay? These were true IPD projects. These were traditional GMPs, guaranteed maximum prices, but there was an incentive, agreement put on them. And I think, Martin, the one you selected from Castro Valley? Okay. And on all four projects, we modeled everything that's larger than 1/4 of an inch. So I think everybody that spoke at this podium kind of alluded to the importance of having the owner engaged, right? So the client or the owner or the employer needs to be engaged in this process. This will not succeed without the owner's engagement. We have to define at the beginning of the project what's in it for the owner. What does the owner wants to get from this BIM implementation? And then we have to align all of our goals to the owner's goals. Again, like you saw on those four projects, we got involved early. The more you delay the builders or the construction, team's involvement in the process, the less benefits you're going to get. And then you hear people say BIM doesn't work, right? And then as contractors, we need to understand the design process and also the designers, because now we're in one team. We're a collaborative team. They need to understand as well what goes into construction. How do we process, construction? And without that, I think the, collaboration sometimes is not fruitful. The co-location, and I'm not sure if you guys have had any experience with co-located teams. I think when we go through the case study, we'll show how teams can co-locate. They're all in one room, including the architect, the designers, the subcontractors, and everybody else are all in one place. I think that allows for better collaboration among the team. And then we also heard, we need also to, educate some of the owners as to what are the deliverables throughout that life cycle, of a model. What do you expect at the beginning? What do you expect at the end? And kind of go through that educational process. Because without that, you're not going to be able to align, with their goals. And I think it's about time to treat building virtually like building really. Because you're really building, but not physically out in the field, but you're really putting it together. And so with that, we may see, some new roles created. At some point, we may get a virtual project manager. I'm not sure. There may be, the time that comes to where, that needs to happen. But today what we're seeing is that we're seeing facilitators come on board to help us kind of map out the process. And I think tomorrow in the workshop, Atul and Saurabh are going to lead one of our workshops where they truly take you through, that process and how to put the team together. And then I think this is important. As any entity, either the owner, the general contractor, you need to define what do you want to get out of it so that you can benchmark, then you can say I achieved it or not, right? So you can measure against what you set, to do. And really, because there are some doubters out there still, but I think integrated, project delivery, either complete IPD or a form of an IPD still works. And obviously, there is a change component to implementing a process and a tool like BIM, right? And so there is anxiety that comes into place. You're dealing with people. You're subjecting people to new ways of doing things. So naturally, people are going to push back. They're going to be, apprehensive about adoption. And so you just need to make sure to allow for that to happen because it's natural. And so it needs to happen. You give them the space and then make sure the implementation is solid. Now, when I think what helped us, and I've not seen this before, and when people start talking about the levels of BIM, they start talking about the degree of detail, of a BIM, of a model. when we talk about the level of BIM, this is what we talk about. Level 1 is visualization. So you decide what you want to get out of it. Is it just visualization? Do you just want to look at three-dimensionally how the project looks like? Or is it just you're doing a master plan with a site logistics plan, just visually laying out where the cranes are, where the material lay down area is, and if that's it, then you're at that level of just visualization. If you're taking it one step further, doing coordination and clash detection, then and this is truly about team engagement and how deep do you want to take that engagement. And today we sit right here. Obviously we do have projects that are, and nothing wrong with just saying I want it for visualization, because there may be value in that. And so our projects range in all 4 levels today. In some projects we've taken it all the way through, engaged the subcontractors and our drywall crews to prefabricate panels and improve their productivity. And so I think you want to decide what do you want to use it for, what do you want to get out of it, and then make sure you determine which level you're going to be at from an implementation perspective. I'll talk very briefly about this because this is going to be what the workshop is about tomorrow. 10? Okay, cool. And so this is the 8-step process that you want to take to make sure you've got a successful implementation. And so I would encourage you to attend the workshop tomorrow, so at least that you can get the benefit of going through it. And I'm sure they may pick all of it or just a few steps of it. Now, the paradigm shift that I think we need to make sure, because all the time when we talk about BIM, people talk about technology. But we forget the people in the process. And that's where implementations fail. And so we look at BIM as just a construction tool, and the tool is just as good as the people, and then the tool is also as good as the process that you put in place to get the benefit of using the tool. And so if these 3 components are not present, well, guess what? You're planning to fail. And so if you only get tools without putting the right people and the right processes in place, the tool is not going to give you, it's not, I think as human beings, sometimes we tend to just look for technological solutions to solve our problems. It's not always just a technological solution. I think you need to have the right people in place and the right process in place as well. And honestly, if you don't take anything out of my, presentation, just take this one slide with you, because this is the most important aspect that is mostly forgotten when people talk about BIM. All right, so our case study, we'll go quickly through the case study. So it's the UCSF Medical Center at Mission Bay. It's in San Francisco. And I'll walk through this, fairly quick. I'll give you, in some cases like this, I'll give you a chance to just read through it. I think the owner has put a great mission for this project that put forth basically or mapped out what should we expect or what their expectations and goals are on the project. The project is $1.5 billion. That includes basically owner equipment and everything in the package. It's about 935 square feet. It's LEED Gold, and it will be substantially complete next year. It has 289 beds, 20 ORs, and 17 imaging rooms. So that's the main hospital, outpatient bed, and there is a surgery center there. Because again, this is a green building, so there is landscape terraces and roofs, and it's very unique and elaborate. Picture of the patient room. This is the actual war zone, right, being constructed. So this is a ground-up structural steel building. Most everything here, again, to a quarter inch or larger, was modeled, including our, concrete foundations and the layout, the pour layouts and the production plans. All of that was modeled. And as you can see here, there is it has pile foundations and some strip foundations as well. The model included everything you see here on this picture. And so we went to that degree of modeling. These are our crews, basically, concrete, this bank of, so including the underground utilities, all of that was modeled as well. And prefabricated, so not just modeled. And so we were, on this project, we were down at level 5, right? And so these were prefabricated and just brought into the site and installed. Again, some views. I think some of the elements that people sometimes don't model, and I think we found value in modeling. See these hangars? Oops, what's happening? So see these hangars here for ducts and all that. There were 300,000 of them that were modeled as well. And so to that degree, we went to the model. The exterior skin was modeled as well, and it was prefabricated from the model. That's basically a nice shot of the building. That's when the exterior skin was going up. There's a helipad up there, right? And so these were the goals that were established for the project at the beginning. So the owner wanted the right building, not any building, but the right building. And they wanted to predict, you saw on Martin's, presentation, they wanted really some predictable, measurable, results. They wanted, obviously, their value for money. They wanted, like any hospital owner, they wanted to operate quickly. And so they want fast delivery. Sustainability was big to them, and zero defects and, no injuries at all. So these were kind of common goals for the entire, project. And this project, even though it was a GMP, but it still, had a component in the contract that the project team. So this was language, from the contract that the project team must work collaboratively. So this was a contractual requirement. And similar to what you saw on what Martin has shown on his presentation, this project also included a $50 million performance incentive. And so the owner put a bucket right there, $50 million. If you do these, and these were the goals that needed to be met. So it was very clear, very defined. So on top of profit, this is not the profit. So on top of profit, this was a performance incentive that was set on the project. And so I think we were able to achieve all of them. This one, though, we did not. And I think the owner recognizes that from a safety perspective, this was a very aggressive, goal to achieve. But we weren't far from that goal. And so again, the plan, so I'm not going to speak to this. I think if you get a chance, I'm doing propaganda, I guess, for the workshop tomorrow. So I think if you get a chance to go to the workshop tomorrow, they will walk you through this, at a detailed level to look at that. The organization, again, 40 people from 10 organizations were co-located in one place. And that's the big room. That's the big room concept. And so the design team had a presence there. We had presence there. The construction manager had presence there. So the entire team was actually in that big room. This is what it looked like. And the whole purpose of it is to enhance collaboration among the project team. This is what it looked like physically. There goes Martin right there. And so to be able to put that organization in place and I think map out the process, we credit Saifi and Martin personally for his involvement with us to kind of map out this to make it happen. And so I think Martin here played that role of the facilitator of the process. And, you know, I think I'm going to skip this just in the interest of time and maybe leave it for, you know, the workshop, you know. So we got involved right here after the design document phase. So the schematic design was complete, the design documents were complete. At this point, the budget for the project was, you know, just the construction was $854 million. I think the slide is, let me just exit here and you will be able to see, whoops. All right, so we'll leave it the way it is, because it seems the other presentation is hiding behind it. That's okay. And so Atul, where were we at the end? Yeah. Right. And so you can see where we've been able to drive, you know, the projected cost of the project at. So from 854 to below, you know, $700 million, right? I'm going to skip this as well. However, yes, you can see that, you know, just some of the, you know, innovations employed on the project and how we were able to achieve. So I think the fair question is, how are you able to bring the cost down, right, or the projected cost down? I think, you know, everybody was encouraged to come up with new delivery methods or new, innovations to reduce that cost down. And so these are snapshots of the model. Interiors, and this was the exterior, and this is the interior, basically looking at, you know, everything. You know, one of the goals of the project was that, you know, we don't want any clashes to become any RFIs. An RFI to us means potential delay, means potential issue that doesn't get answered. And so if we can answer all of those clashes, you know, without any RFIs, then we would have, gotten what we had planned for. So we're currently at 99.85. And so we still had some, you know, some RFIs that had to go through. I think, like I said, on this project we self-performed concrete work, and so we took it to a higher level where quantities were driven, you know, out of the model, as well as, you know, the schedule was driven out of the model as well for the concrete. Again, we use, you know, the pull planning, you know, methods, you know, adopted from lean practices to schedule, and we use our plan to schedule those tasks, to measure and manage the commitments. And I think you guys are going to go through that as well. So this is one of our sessions with, again, the right people in the room at the right time, discussing the right, you know, this is basically they're discussing commitments and what's to come. I think Zuhair talked about the 3-week look-ahead schedule, right, and the commitments everybody makes within that 3-week time frame. Skip here. All right, and so these are some metrics. I think we talked about them on some of the benefits. You know, this talks about change orders. How have we been able to achieve? And this one talks about the RFIs, and we've stayed really on average, you know, at the 3-day level. Submittal, review, and approval. Again, like I said earlier, DPR is big on measuring because we want to know where we are. We want to improve on, you know, where we are. And I think this is one of the unique things that we do at DPR, is making things transparent to everybody. So All of the project, because again, the contract type allows for it. A GMP contract is almost like an open book contract. And so everybody knows everything about the project. And so that's why we set metrics at the beginning of the project. We measure those metrics, and they're publicly available to anybody to see. I'm going to skip through these. I'm going to give you maybe a couple of seconds to read them. I think you can see them increasing productivity for our drywall crews, being able to prefabricate the panels, including and anticipate also, anticipate the openings, being able to lay out everything, coming in from the model into the, total stations, the Trimble total stations, and being able to have that degree of accuracy. And I think we took it to the level to where the miscellaneous metal, even the supports to some of the, elements, either OR lights or any other types of booms, we were able to model those and prefabricate them. All right, so I'm going to skip here. How much time? Okay, good. All right, so, and I'll, skip also through these very quickly. Just from a knowledge transfer perspective, we have a right arm of consulting that we offer. Today we're in, we're in Korea. What does that mean? Probably. All right, so we're in Korea. We've been to Sweden. We've been to other parts of the world, Colombia. And so just know that we have an arm of consulting that offers knowledge transfer, and mostly we're trying to push into the level 5 of using BIM. And then most recently, Sarab, who's been with DPR for 10 years, we decided to open an office in India. And so vConstruct is our new venture. Is in India, also offering these services as well. So this is how you can contact us. We have no reservations at all sharing knowledge. We have no reservations answering questions. If we can share anything we've done that would elevate the level of the construction industry and bring the level to a higher level, I think we will become better as well. So you can contact us. If you want to follow me on Twitter, sometimes I tweet about DPR and what we do, and go ahead. And, parting, words here that I would leave you with is that I think, and I've had a great discussion earlier today with Architect Wright there, and I think we share some of the vision, is that we want to truly change the world. And this is in our DNA as DPR. It is in our point of view. We have a document called Point of View. And so we want to change the world. But it doesn't mean the whole world. It may be one project at a time, right? And so I really challenge everybody in this room here to really look at elevating the level of the game. Because it's no longer business as usual, right? It's not. Projects are complex. Owners are demanding. And so we need to get to that level to be able to deliver better projects, deliver them at a better time, not on time, better time, and at a better, at a better cost. And so I'm going to leave you with my favorite commercial here from Apple. It's inspirational. I really like it. It's one of my, favorites here, and hopefully you find some inspiration in it.
Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes. See things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. But the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough